Hey everybody, today I'm going to teach you a basic lesson on how to use Camera Raw in the Adobe Creative Suite, most notably in Bridge, but it also works in Photoshop. So first of all, what is a raw image? Um, in most cameras, they're pre-programmed to shoot in JPEG, which means that the manufacturer has specific compressions and filters that it uses over after you take the image before it saves it to make it, it compresses the image and just makes it what they think a photo should look like, or like what they think like a general template for a good photo is, basic color data and stuff like that. Raw photos are uncompressed, they don't have any kind of filter on it. It just takes the entire camera data from the sensor and puts it onto the card. The downside to that is that the photos are significantly larger, but you do have way more control on how the final picture looks. So if you look at this JPEG image, it's about 4.41 megabytes. And then if you look at this raw image, it's 21.5 megabytes. So again, it is significantly larger, but you have way more control on how the photo looks afterwards. So I'm going to open this. You just right click and click Open in Camera Raw. And you can set it up to have it double click and take you straight to Camera Raw. But right now I have that set up to double click and take me straight to Photoshop. So this is what the Camera Raw screen looks like. You have a live preview of the image. At the top you have the levels and curves, and then you have your templates here, or your sliders. So you can change these around. So this image was shot in daylight. It's cool to use the auto filters, so I'm going ahead and using that. You can do it manually. The exposure here and all of this I normally do manually just because you get way more control over how it is. So you can slide it over to brighten it a little bit, add some more contrast into that. The highlights add or reduce high areas of like brightness. So some parts of it seem really bright, so we'll lower that a little bit. And then in the shadows, you see here on her hair, it's really dark, so you can't really see the full detail of her hair. So we're going to take away some shadows and move it towards the lighter part. So you can see a little bit more detail there now. And then so you can go back to fit in view. And then the whites and blacks on here don't really add much to it. You can slide them around and play with it a little bit, but the overall effect of it isn't all that great. And then here I added in vibrance earlier, so you can see that the color of it goes to more green. So let's add in even more so you can see more of the green. And then when you're done with that, you can go add in more detail and sharpening everywhere else. The image the one that I use most is lens corrections. Depending on some lenses and manufacturers, that does have some distortion around the edges. So if you enable the lens profile, you can pick which lens you use. So I was shooting on a 50mm 1.8 fixed lens, so I had already had that set up because this is the computer that I use. That's the main lens that I use anyways. And then when you're done with that, you can press Open Image, and it'll open it up in Photoshop. And you can make any other adjustments to it that you need. And it'll open it with all the adjustments that you made in Camera Raw. So it takes a minute to read the raw format just because it's so large. Give it a second, and there it is with all the adjustments that you made in Raw. You can also use Camera Raw to edit any other kind of file type. So here's a JPEG. Right click and hit Open in Camera Raw, and then you can play with that too. So this was shot. Let's just put it into auto mode. Need some less temperature there. Brighten it. Contrast, remove some highlights, add some shadows, and then vibrance. It might be too exposed. No? There we go. So that's how you do that. And then if you press done, it just closes it and puts it right in there, and it shows this little icon here saying that you've edited in Camera Raw. And it works with any kind of image file type. And Camera Raw is a really powerful tool that you have to really have a lot more control over the picture. So that was our tutorial on Camera Raw. As always, there's more that you can do with it, but this is just a basic rundown. So try experimenting with it and play with it and see what you can learn.